Right now, people need government support, but all signs point to this being taken away. There are three big media myths about austerity that are standing in the way of people getting the government spending that they desperately need. Let's rip up those myths now. Myth number one, the government is like a household. This myth is all about making us believe that the way we organise our personal or family budget is just the same as the way the government organises theirs. This myth might sound like, we need to live within our means, or we need to tighten our belts. Governments are not the same as households. For a start, they're much bigger. You can't compare a family budget of, say, £30,000 with a government with a budget of £150 billion for the NHS alone. When government cuts spending, the whole economy falters. People lose their jobs, fall deeper into poverty, and the whole of society suffers. As Frank van Leeuwen, an economist from the New Economics Foundation, tweets, the single greatest masterstroke of the Cameron-Osborne era was to mainstream the economically illiterate myth that governments need to manage their finances like a household. But the biggest difference between your budget and that of the government is that yours is limited by the amount of hours you can work or the amount of assets you can buy, whereas the government has the potentially unlimited ability to create money through the Bank of England. That leads us nicely onto myth number two, we don't have enough money. This myth makes us think that money is scarce and we have no choice but to cut government spending back. The truth is, that isn't the case. The Bank of England, which is owned by our government, has the power to create new money that we can spend on things we need. They did it last year, creating $450 billion out of thin air. Because the Bank of England is helping with public spending, the cost of borrowing is at a historic low, and it's set to stay low for the foreseeable future. In fact, we're set to spend less on our debt repayments over the next 5 years than previously thought. While debt is so cheap, it would be foolish not to spend to kickstart the economy and our recovery. Myth number three, cutting public spending is the correct response to a crisis. We're told that there's no alternative, that cutting is the only thing we can do to save our economy, but this isn't right. Spending more rather than less is a far better way to recover. Even mainstream economists and journalists who backed austerity last time around are starting to admit their mistakes, like the Financial Times. Big mea culpa from the FT, they were wrong on fiscal austerity. Media needs to stop repeating these tired old myths about austerity. It's time for us to tell the truth so we can get our economy back on track, fund a recovery that's fair for all, and steer our society in the right direction. We have money, we can spend it, and we need to protect our public services now more than ever.